you've certainly left the impression on me that the economy, the way that we look at economics, falls short, or the predominant textbook view falls short.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. But I just wanted to pick up on something that Stephen Fry said the other day. I don't know if you picked up on his thing, and if you'll forgive me, I've got it in big letters and I'll read it, because it goes beyond the economics into the really issues of our time. So he said, Stephen Fry, the actor, the comic, and the commentator, so here we are, blind as moles, engaged in ugly, unappealing struggles of identity politics, nationhood, and others such fatuous, outmoded notions, while the planet on which we depend for life is gasping for air, and a technological tsunami threatens to engulf us and redefine us without our consent. I think his sense there is that so much is happening so quickly that the economy doesn't seem to be holding the center. We always relied in the post-war era on an economy that would deliver full employment, that would deliver continuous growth, that would, if we worked on it, would be able to design out waste and things of that nature, so that it would get better and better. But the great financial crash in 2008 and the shift in politics since 2016 tells us that the fundamentals of the economy are struggling, because the political discussions, and it is an election day in America today, the discussion around the politics is really saying that the economy isn't working for an awful lot of people.
Well, the story that you'll hear Donald tell a slightly different story, that the economy is doing fine.
Yeah, but
is that just that's the politics?
Well, that's partly the politics, and if we're talking about full-time employment, no. There are plenty of jobs, but they're often low-wage jobs. They're in the precariat, the gig economy. Many of them, people working 2 or 3 jobs. There's a big split going on between those who have regular employment and those who don't. There's a big split going on between the financial economy and the economy of production and consumption. There's pressures coming in from all over the place, whether it's to do with environmental resources, whether it's to do with growing inequality. There is an uncomfortableness about what the economy is delivering, and I think that's being picked, that comes through in these politics. People are not, in general, happy. They don't see themselves getting better off year after year, and so the story of people in the economy is a crucial one to look at, because we don't know what the story of the future is. We're making it up as we go along. This is why things like the DIF are really important.
And something that we pick up on the DIF every year, and there'll be a lot of sessions on the schedule now that have technology as a key part of it. But to go back to your Stephen Fry quote, I always thought he was a kind of technophile. He had the latest gadgets, and
well, I believe he does. But it's the
what's the role of technology in all this turbulence that you just described?
He suggests it threatens to engulf us and redefine us without our consent. There's been a lot of concern about whether it's something we can use to improve the quality of our lives, or whether it's something else. The way in which some algorithms control how workers operate in work. There is some tension around that. There's the control of social media data. Who should have access to it in what way? You know, so it's a tsunami of change, he's suggesting, but it's engulfing us, not necessarily liberating us. We're getting very confused, and finding the right way through is probably one of the big tasks.
And it strikes me that a lot of what you're saying there is the word agency comes up for me. And I feel like sometimes it feels that the economy is something that happens to you, that it's, we don't really know.
Isn't that ridiculous in a way? It's like, is it a force of nature? It just happens to us?
But it feels a bit like this mystical thing that occurs that we don't perhaps have much agency over. So the title of this DIF topic of people in the economy, that would suggest that there is agency and that people can do something to change the course of the economy.
Well, we talk a lot about technology in this, in the DIF, and people talk about technology a lot. But it's to whose ends is it applied? Can we get agency? Can we really use it to produce and consume more directly? That's one of the themes that come up quite often. Is it about redefining what the economy should be doing, how it should work? Because I think one of the big problems is that we've forgotten that we created the economy. You know, the economy is for us. You know, we're not to fit it. It isn't a force of nature. It's the decisions that have been built up over decades. Mm-hmm. And if it's not working for a lot of people now, it really needs reworking to fit a different framework, a different worldview. And that worldview is not set. It's emerging in discussions such as the work done in the DIF and many other fora.
So with all the DIF sessions coming up on this topic, what are some of the big buckets of kind of angles or issues within people in the economy that you think viewers should be looking out for?
Trying to build a new story of the economy is about agency for many, many people. They need to be able to feel that they can produce on their own decisions, whether it's for food, whether it's being able to move around, whether in some extent it's how the housing situation. They need more participation and involvement in it. There are many resources cascading through the system. Can they get a hold of it, and can they do something positive with it? Can they add value from the base up? Not just lower costs, but can they add value? And that would provide them a role as not just as a consumer, but as a producer and a citizen. Mm-hmm. All of these things, it's about reconnecting people to the economy in a meaningful way. At the moment, they feel distanced. They feel just like consumers. That's it. That's your choice. Your choice is what you might consume. Whereas all thriving cities, for instance, have been about exchange and what people do and with for each other. And reinventing some of that potential, I think that's one of the exciting things about people in the economy. We don't just use metaphor to simplify things. We do think any abstract thought is metaphorical. We use these images to suggest how we think the world works. And that's one of the biggest. Well, is the world like a machine? Are we a part? Are we deterministically pushed around like little atoms? Or are we co-creating our world? Are we continuously connecting with thousands of different other actors, and that the outcome is more like you might see in an ecosystem or a dynamic physical system like oceans or atmospheres? The image of whether it's a dynamic interconnected system or whether it's pretty rigid, that's one of the big breakdowns between a mechanistic worldview and a more dynamic interconnected